Hi viewers, welcome to my channel. This is Rekha Venkateshwarlu, Assistant Professor of Physics, Government Degree College for Women, Nalgonda. In the present class, I am going to discuss about the topic Fundamentals of Magnetostatics. This is BSc Physics, final year, 5th semester, Electromagnetism, Unit 2 syllabus. The plan of my talk is the first, let us see the introduction. After that, magnet and its characteristics, magnetic moment and its applications. Then after, we will see the magnetic field and its types, magnetic lines of force and properties. After that, we will discuss the comparison between magnetic lines and electric lines of force. Then after, Coulomb's inverse parallel of magnetism and magnetizing field strength, magnetic induction field strength, capital B. After that, relation between capital B and H. Lastly, we will see the summary of the lecture. Yes. So under this topic, first of all, what is a magnet? I hope that you have studied at your intermediate level the basic concepts of magnetism. Let me repeat all these basic concepts here in this present lecture. So magnet is nothing but it is a magnetic material, so which can attract the substances like iron, cobalt, nickel, and that can point the geographical north and south direction when it is suspended freely is called as magnet. So magnet is defined as the substance which is having the property of attraction, the substances like iron, cobalt, nickel, and whenever it is suspended freely, that comes to rest along the geographical north and south direction. That substance is called as magnet. Okay, and that property is called magnetism. Magnetism, right? So here, the method of converting a material into the magnet is called magnetization. The method of changing a magnetic substance into the magnet is called magnetization. There we have the different methods. One is single touch method. Single touch method. The second one, double touch method or divided touch method. Double touch or divided touch method. The third one, electrical method. Electric method. Okay. So let us see one by one. What is single touch method? So in this, we take a iron bar and a bar magnet, which is kept vertically on this iron bar. Iron bar. So here south pole is touching the iron bar. It is moved like this from one end to the second end of the bar like this, as shown in the arrow mark. From one end to another end by sliding the bar magnet repeatedly many times, then we get the here south pole and the north pole. So in this we are using the one bar magnet by touching that bar magnet into the iron bar and sliding over the iron bar. So this iron bar is converting into the magnet. Hence it is called single touch method. The second method is divided touch method. There we use two bar magnets. So this is the iron bar which is to be magnetized, and take two bar magnets, so which are keeping on the iron bar like this. Say this is north pole and south pole, and south and north. So unlike poles are touching here, right? So they are moving in opposite direction like this, as shown in this figure. So that south pole is sliding to the second end, the first bar magnet North Pole is sliding to the first end, like in the arrow mark. By sliding these two bar magnets in opposite direction, in opposite ends, so that material can be converted into the bar magnet by forming the South Pole at the first end and North Pole here. Since we are using the two bar magnets, it is double touch method, right? Now, third method is electrical method. There, so that we are taking a magnetic material as a iron bar. So that is connected to the circuit, electrical circuit like this. Okay. So here, this is minus plus and this is top key as something rheostat. The current is passing through this wire. By sending the DC current through this wire, which is wound around over the magnetic bar, the magnetic material, after some time that can be converted into the magnet. So here we get the North Pole and this end South Pole. So this is called electrical method. Okay. So there are three methods. Mainly we have single touch method. The second one, divided touch method or double touch method. The third one, electrical method. There are magnets are of two types. One is natural magnet. The second one, artificial magnets. Example for natural magnet is lodestone. Lodestone is iron ore Fe3O4 magnetite. This is the best example for natural magnet. And also earth magnet is also a natural magnet. Artificial magnets are made of materials cobalt, nickel, right? So nowadays the modern permanent magnets are made of materials like Alnico, Alcomax, Ticonal, etc. Okay, so we are saying magnets are of two types: natural magnet, artificial magnets. The magnets occur naturally are called natural magnets. Example for natural magnet is lodestone. This is the ore of iron, Fe3O4 magnetite. Since it is found in magnesia, it is found in magnesia. That ore is called as magnetite, right? And earth magnet is also a natural magnet. The magnets which are made artificially are called artificial magnets. Artificial magnets are made of cobalt, nickel, etc. Right? Again, artificial magnets are of two types. One is permanent magnet. The second one is the soft magnets. The permanent magnets are made from the materials like steel and alloys, Alnico and Alcomax. These soft magnets are made up of materials like soft iron and mu metals. Okay, now the types of magnets, let us see. Okay, types of magnets. Magnets types, we use different types of magnets. One is bar magnet, bar magnet. The second one, horseshoe magnet, horseshoe magnet. The third one, magnetic compass, magnetic compass or magnetic needle. I hope that you are very familiar with these three types of magnets. Bar magnet is like this. It consists of two poles. One is south pole, the second one north pole. Horseshoe magnet is in U shape like this. So one is south pole, then second one is the north pole, right? Magnetic compass is like this. Generally, the north pole is denoted with the shaded region or something red mark there. It is north pole. The second end is the south pole. Okay. So bar magnet, horseshoe magnet, magnetic compass. We are using in laboratories, and this magnetic compass used to map the magnetic lines of force, to know the directions. Uh, this one compass is we are using. Okay. Now let us see the magnet properties. Magnet properties, right? Magnet properties. It has different properties. The first one, it has the attractive property. What is meant by attractive property? Magnet is attracting the substances like iron, cobalt, nickel. That is called attractive property. The second one is uh, directive property. Directive property. So when it is suspended freely by means of a thread or a wire, that point geographical north and south direction. Geographical north and south direction. So you take a bar magnet or magnetic compass, just you suspend with the wire or a thread, then comes to the rest along the geographical north and south direction. The pole or the end which points the geographical north is called north pole of the magnet. The pole or end of the magnet which point geographical south is called geographical, that is called south pole of that magnet. Okay, so this is the directive property. The third one is inductive property. Inductive property. So when a magnetized material is brought near to the magnet, for example, this is the south pole and north pole, some iron material is brought near to the magnet. Then what happens? Opposite pole can be induced at the nearest end, and the like pole induces at the distant end. Due to the induction of opposite pole, unlike pole at the nearest end, since the unlike poles are attracted each other, so this can be attracted by the magnet. So this property is called inductive property. So magnet attracting the material like iron, cobalt, nickel. Why? Because of this inductive property. Here, when the material is brought near to the magnet, since due to the induction of unlike pole in that nearest end, so that can be attracted by the magnet. This is called inductive property. Okay. The fourth one, what is the pole strength? Pole strength. So in the magnet, whenever it is dipped into the, suppose if it is dipped into the iron fillings, you can observe that at the ends of this magnet, the more iron fillings can be attracted, and no iron fillings are at the center of the magnet. So therefore, these ends are called magnetic poles. Magnetic poles. So iron fills where the more concentrated, the iron fills more where they are attracted or concentrated or crowded, that ends are called magnetic poles. So in the center of the magnet, single iron filling is not observed there. So this is called neutral region. Here magnetism doesn't exist. Magnetism exists maximum at the ends, very minimum or almost zero at the center of the magnet. Okay. So here two poles have the same equal pole strength. South pole strength and north pole strength are equal in magnitude and opposite in nature. Generally, we take the convention that north pole strength is taken as positive, the south pole strength taken as negative. This is the general tradition we follow in the magnetism. Just like in electrostatics, positive charge is taken as plus, the negative charge minus. Here, the north pole strength considered as positive, the south pole strength considered as negative. Okay, now So this pole strength is a scalar quantity. It is a scalar quantity. Its SI unit is ampere meter and MKS unit is Weber. MKS unit Weber, SI unit ampere meter. So how to write the dimensional formula? Ampere A, ampere is denoted with the letter E or I, meter is L. So dimensional formula EL. Regarding the pole strength, what I am saying is the magnetism or attracting power is maximum in the place of magnets here called magnetic poles. So the strength of magnetic poles is called magnetic pole strength, or attracting power of the magnetic poles are called magnetic pole strength. This is a scalar quantity. It is measured in the units ampere meter or Weber. SI unit is ampere meter. Magnetic pole strength depends on what? Magnetic poles depends on nature of the material. The second, area of cross section. The third one, the state of magnetization. These three things will decide the magnetic pole strength. One is nature of the material. The second one, state of magnetization. The third one, area of cross section. Now, the next property of the magnet is magnetic length. What is magnetic length, or how to measure the magnetic length? Simply you take the bar magnet. This is a bar magnet, south pole and a north pole. Okay. If you observe keen, then the magnetic poles exist just below the ends, not exactly at the ends. Okay. So this is the south pole M. This is the north pole small m. The distance between these two magnetic poles is called magnetic length. Generally, it is denoted as 2L. But actual, the distance between the ends of the bar magnet is called actual length. Actual length is capital L. Magnetic length is distance between the poles. Yet the poles are not existing exactly at the edges. They are existing just inside the ends. Therefore, this distance is called magnetic length. Magnetic length is a vector quantity. It is its direction takes as from south to north. We are writing it n cap, 2L into n cap. Okay. So the next property is magnetic moment. Magnetic moment. Magnetic moment. Right. It is defined as it is the product of pole strength and magnetic length. But magnetic moment is a vector quantity. So I am writing m bar, small m into 2L into n cap or 2L bar, where n cap is the unit vector that is along the magnetic axis. This is the magnetic axis from south to north. From south to north. So what are the units of capital M? Pole strength unit ampere into meter. Into meter, you will get ampere meter square. Ampere meter square. So you can write the dimensional formula. AL square. Ampere A meter square is, since it is the length dimension, L square. AL square is the dimensional formula of magnetic moment. Okay. So let me repeat. Magnetic moment is defined as it is the product of pole strength and magnetic length. It is a vector quantity. Its direction is from south to north along the magnetic axis. Its SI unit is ampere meter square. Dimensional formula AL square. A into L square. Right, sir. Now, the next one more property is repulsion is the Schur test. Repulsion is the Schur test for polarity. Schur test for polarity. Why? A magnetic pole, for example, south and north, a magnetic pole can attract the unlike pole, okay, that can attract. And also a magnetic pole can attract the magnetic material also. Suppose if you brought, when you bring iron material near to this magnetic pole, that can be attracted by this one. So based on attractive property, we can't say that the material which is brought near to the magnet, whether it is a magnet or not, we can't say. But the magnetic pole repel only the like pole, that can repel the similar pole or like pole. So therefore, repulsion is the right test. It is a sure test for magnetism or polarity. Okay, this is also important point. One more important point, right? So the properties of magnets, once again, I am telling, magnet has the main properties: attractive property, directive property, inductive property. Magnetic length is defined as distance between the magnetic poles, right? And magnetic moment is, it is the product of pole strength and length. Repulsion is the sure test for polarity, right? So one more uh, points regarding this is, say this is a bar magnet, and the south pole, it is the north pole. The line joining the magnetic poles and passing through the center is called magnetic axis. This is called magnetic axis or axial line, or axial line. The perpendicular line passing through the center to the magnetic axis, which can bisect this magnet, is called magnetic equator. This is called equatorial line. Equatorial line or magnetic equator. So the vertical plane passing, when the magnet is suspended freely, the vertical plane passing through this magnetic axis is called as magnetic meridian. Magnetic meridian. Okay, the vertical plane passing through the magnetic axis when the magnet is suspended freely is called as magnetic meridian. The line joining the magnetic poles passing through the center is called magnetic axis. The perpendicular bisector line to the magnetic axis, magnetic length, is called magnetic equator or magnetic equatorial line. Okay, right. The next content is, what is a magnetic field? Magnetic field. Yes. The space or region around the magnet in which its influence is felt is called magnetic field. Magnetic fields are of two types. These are two types. One is uniform magnetic field. The second one, non-uniform magnetic field. Uniform magnetic field, non-uniform magnetic field. Okay. The uniform magnetic field is defined as, in this, at every point, magnetic induction field strength B bar remains constant both in magnitude and direction. B is constant here. It is constant. B bar is a vector quantity. Magnetic induction or magnetic field vector is a vector quantity. It is constant at every point, both in magnitude and direction. Then that field is said to be uniform magnetic field. The magnetic field in which magnetic field strength or magnetic induction field strength not constant at every point. So that may differ in magnitude or direction, or both magnitude and direction. So then that field is said to be non-uniform magnetic field. Okay, uniform, non-uniform. Now, what is the magnetic line of force? Magnetic line of force, strictly we have to read it as magnetic field lines. Magnetic field line. In the magnetic field of a magnet, say south and north something, if you keep the unit north pole, the path traversed by the unit north pole, which is kept in the magnetic field, is called as magnetic line of force or magnetic field line. For example, in this magnetic field, if you keep the unit north pole, that can move like this along this line, north to south, like this. like this. Okay. So this is the magnetic line of force. Magnetic lines of force properties, if you see, the properties of magnetic lines of force are number one. So they may be straight lines, magnetic lines, or maybe straight or curved lines. This is the first one. The second point, if it is the curved line, the tangent drawn at any point denotes the direction of magnetic induction field strength at that point. The third property is magnetic lines of force never intersect. If they intersect, at the point of intersection, the field strength will have the two directions because two tangent lines can draw. But it is absurd. It is contradiction. The field strength is a vector quantity. Therefore, it should have the single direction. Hence, no two lines of force intersect each other. Okay. Where the lines of force are crowded, their field strength is maximum. Where the lines of force are distant, there the field strength is less. For example, if you take bar magnet, north pole, this is the south pole. The mapping or the orientation of magnetic lines due to the bar magnet are they move from north to south outside the magnet like this. They start from north pole and moves towards the south pole outside the magnet. Inside the magnet, they move from south to north like this. So they are the closed curves. These are the closed curves. Magnetic lines of force are closed curves. But electric lines of force are open curves. This is the main difference between magnetic field lines and electric lines of force. Okay. So here the lines of force are curved lines. In this curved line, if you want to know the direction of field strength at any point, simply you draw the tangent there. That tangent line gives the direction of field strength at that point. Okay. So here magnetic lines of force are emerging or they are coming out from the north pole and they are reaching to the south pole. Outside the magnet, north to south. Inside the magnet, south to north. These are the closed curves, right? So here at the poles, the magnetic lines are crowded. Therefore, field strength is maximum here in this region. It is the minimum in this region. Here, the lines are distant. The distance between lines is somewhat more comparing to this region. Okay. So these are the properties of magnetic lines of force. If you see further, in the uniform magnetic field, the magnetic lines of force are parallel and equidistant like this, similar to uniform electric field. In the non-uniform magnetic field, the lines of force may be parallel like this, and they may be chord lines. They may be chord lines. You observe these three figures. In the first figure, the distance between two adjacent lines is changing. Here, magnitude is not constant, but the direction is constant. It is non-uniform magnetic field. Non-uniform magnetic field. In the second figure, the distance between two successive lines is constant. That represents magnitude of the field strength is constant, but here the direction is changing point to point because tangent line direction is changing. Therefore, it is also non-uniform magnetic field. In the third figure, the both magnitude and direction both are changing. Therefore, it is also non-uniform magnetic field. Okay. In the uniform magnetic field, the lines of force are parallel and equidistant. In the non-uniform, they may be straight or curved lines. Okay. Magnetic induction field strength that is directly proportional to the number of lines of force. Number of lines of force crossing normally through unit area. Hence, the region where the field lines are maximum, their field strength is maximum. The region where the field lines are minimum or distant, there the field strength is minimum. Magnetic field strength is defined as the number of magnetic lines of force crossing perpendicularly through the unit area to the direction of magnetic lines of force. Suppose if you consider the unit pole can emerge the number of lines of force mu naught. So then a pole of strength m from which the number of lines of force will come out m into mu naught lines. Okay, this is also you should remember. Unit pole, from unit pole, the lines of force will come out mu naught lines of force if it is north pole. If it is south pole, mu naught lines of force will move towards itself. For m pole strength, the number of lines of force will originate from that m into mu naught, right? So what is the magnetic flux in the magnetic field? In the magnetic field, right? If you consider a closed surface area, the number of lines of force crossing through this closed surface area normally is called as magnetic flux. It is denoted with phi, right? Then flux density is defined as the flux per unit area. D is equal to phi by A. So already I explained here. The number of lines of force passing through the area, passing through the considered area normally is called magnetic flux. The number of lines of force crossing perpendicular through the unit area is called flux density or magnetic induction field strength. So this is the flux per unit area. Therefore, magnetic induction field strength, or it is also named as field vector, and also it is called as flux density. Flux density, right? So here B bar SI units, B bar units are Weber per meter square, Tesla, and Newton per ampere meter. The CGS unit is Gauss. CGS unit is Gauss. 1 Gauss is equals to 10 power minus 4 Tesla. 10 power minus 4 Tesla. Magnetic flux density is a vector quantity. Its direction is perpendicular to the unit area through which the lines of force are passing. The direction of lines of force are perpendicular to that area. Okay. Yeah, the SI units are Weber per meter square, Tesla, Newton per ampere meter. CGS unit Gauss. 1 Gauss is equal 10 power minus 4 Tesla. So what is magnetizing field strength? Magnetizing field strength is denoted with H. Magnetic induction field strength is B. So what is the difference here? So the field which can magnetize the field is called magnetizing field. Magnetizing field intensity H is defined as it is a ratio of B bar to permeability of free space. H is equal to B bar by mu naught. Or you can write B bar is equals to mu naught into H bar. Mu naught into H bar. Magnetic induction field strength is equal to mu naught times to the magnetizing field strength H, where H is independent of the medium. H SI unit is ampere per meter. B units already I told you Weber per meter square, Tesla, Newton per ampere meter. Okay. Here H is the vector, H bar direction, B bar direction same. So B bar direction in the medium free space or vacuum, B bar equal mu naught into H. In another medium, B bar equal, we write mu into H bar. So H bar is defined as the ratio of B bar to mu naught. Okay. So this is relation between B bar and H bar. Right. Now, so what is the relation between B and H? Yes. Actually, in SI system, B bar is equals to mu naught into H plus I bar, H bar plus I bar, where I is intensity of magnetization. What is that? When a magnetic material is placed in the external magnetic field, that substance can be converted into the magnet. The process of converting the material into the magnet is called magnetization. the magnetic moment per unit volume. When the magnetic material is placed in the external magnetic field, then that is changing into the magnet. So the induced magnetic moment per unit volume is called intensity of magnetization. So here B bar, H bar, I bar related like this. In the free space, for a free space or vacuum, your intensity of magnetization 0. Okay, I equal to 0. In the free space, the material cannot be converted into the magnet. So I equal to 0, magnetization 0. Then what we get? B bar equal to mu naught into H bar. So that is I explained earlier. In CGS system, BHI related as B is equal to mu naught into H plus 4 pi I. Here also for free space, since I equals to 0, then you will get B is equal to mu naught into H, right? The relation between BH is B equal mu naught into H plus I. For free space or vacuum, B bar equal to mu naught into H. So you can obtain that relation from, this is from SI system, this is from CGS system. Now let us see the application of magnetic moment. Now the next concept is magnetic moment applications. Magnetic moment applications, let us see. So let me repeat the concept. What is the magnetic moment? Yes, this is South Pole and North Pole. Pole strengths are equal, right? The line joining the magnetic poles passing through the center, this is called magnetic axis or axial line. Magnetic axis or axial. What is the direction of M bar? From south to north along the axis. M bar is defined as it is the product of pole strength and magnetic length, 2L into N cap. Here N cap direction from south to north along the magnetic axis. So this bar magnet is equivalent to the magnetic dipole. Why? Because here south pole strength, north pole strength are equal in magnitude and opposite in nature. When two equal opposite poles are separated by some distance, that system is called magnetic dipole. When two equal and opposite charges are separated by some distance, we are saying that that is electric dipole. Similar to the electric dipole, when we consider the bar magnet, here south pole, north pole, having the equal magnitude and opposite nature, and they are separated by some distance, hence this is equivalent to the magnetic dipole, right? Now, so now let us see the application. You take the two bar magnets. This is one magnet of moment M1, another bar magnet of magnetic moment M2, such that their like poles are touching. Okay, so what is the direction of M1? Like this. This is the direction of M1. The direction of M2 south to north like this. Angle between these two vectors is theta. Then the resultant magnetic moment of this combination equal to, by using the parallelogram law of vectors, M1 square plus M2 square plus 2M1 M2 cos theta. Okay, so in this by substituting for different theta values, you can calculate the value. So you see one more application. Two bar magnets of moments M1 and M2 are kept with some angle theta such that their unlike poles are touching. Its magnetic moment M2. The direction of M1 is south to north. This is M1. The direction of M2, this is the M2 bar direction, M1 bar direction. If it is angle theta, this total angle 180, then angle between M1 bar and M2 bar is 180 minus theta, right? Again, to calculate the resultant magnetic moment, you take the above formula, M1 square plus M2 square plus 2M1 M2 cos of 180 minus theta, cos of 180 minus theta, right? M1 square plus M2 square plus 2M1 M2 cos of how much? Cos 180 minus theta. From this, you can calculate the resultant magnetic moment. Right. Now you see the third example. Here, two bar magnets. One is M1, South Pole, North Pole, and another bar magnet of moment M2 such that they are kept as L shape like this. So what is the resultant magnetic moment? The direction of M1 south to north. This is M1 bar direction. The direction of M2 south to north. M2 bar direction, this one. Angle between two vectors is 90 degree. Then by applying the parallelogram law of vectors under root M1 square plus M2 square plus 2M1 M2 cos 90, that becomes 0. So this gives the resultant magnetic moment. You take two bar magnets of moments M1 and another M2, which are kept as plus shape. So it is south to north, say south and north. The direction of M1 like this, the direction of M2 like this. Here also angle between two vectors 90 degree. Therefore, resultant magnetic moment is given by root of M1 square plus M2 square. Okay. One more example. You take a bar magnet of moment M, you bend it as a arc shape like this. This arc is making some angle theta at the center, that is subtending angle theta at the center. Then its new magnetic moment will be 2m magnetic moment 2m sine of theta by 2 by theta. M dash is equals to, right? So using this, suppose a bar magnet has the magnetic moment M. It is bent as semi-circular shape like this. Semicircular shape. What is the new magnetic moment? You substitute here M dash is equal to m sine of, here what is the angle? 180. Sine 180 by 2 sine 90. By here theta should be taken in radians. Sine theta, 90 degrees pi by 2 radian. Pi by pi radians equals to, that gives 2m by pi equals to 2m sine 91 2m by pi. This is the new magnetic moment. Okay. So what I'm saying, a bar magnet of moment M, when it is bent as semicircular shape like this, here the magnetic moment decreases. That new magnetic moment value 2m by pi. Here the pole strength is not changing, only the length is changing. Here length 2l is equals to, but here the length is diameter 2r. So using that concept, you can obtain this formula 2m by pi. In the first case, what I am saying, m is equal to m into 2l, right? This 2l length is equal to half of this circumference, 2l equal to pi r. So from this, r is equals to 2l by pi. Now say this is South Pole and North Pole, right? Okay. Here the effective length is equal to 2 into radius or diameter length. Now new magnetic pole strength, magnetic moment equal pole strength small m is not changing due to the bending. Length is equal to effective length equal to 2 into r, that is 2 into 2l by pi. 2l by pi. M into 2l is what? M dash is equal m into 2l capital M 2m by pi. Okay. So when a straight magnet is bent as bending as semicircular or with some angle, then magnetic moment decreases, and vice versa. If the semicircular magnet bent as it is straightened or bent as straight, then magnetic moment increases. Yes, the summary of this present lecture is, in this present class, we discussed what is magnet and magnetization methods. They are single touch method, division method, and electrical method. After that, we covered the discussion of magnetic shapes, bar magnet, the second one, horseshoe magnet or U-shaped magnet, and magnetic compass. The properties of magnets are attractive property. The magnet attracts the materials like iron, cobalt, nickel. Hence, whenever it is come dipped into the iron fillings. The iron fillings are attracted by the magnetic material. You can observe in the figure. The line joining the magnetic poles is called magnetic axis. The vertical plane passing through the magnetic axis when it is suspended is called magnetic meridian. This is called directive property. After that, the length between the magnetic poles is called magnetic length. Magnetic length, it is denoted with the letter 2L, right? Okay. Monopoles do not exist. This is a very, very important point. If you cut the magnet into two pieces, each piece will has the two magnetic poles. Again, you cut into further two pieces. Again, in the small piece, you can observe the two poles. So single pole do not exist. Monopoles do not exist. Magnetic poles always exist in pairs. If you cut the magnet or bar magnet up to the atomic level, each atom behave as the magnetic dipole. So in the atomic magnet also there exists two magnetic poles. So the important point I want to say is in the case of magnetism, monopoles do not exist. Magnetic poles always exist in pairs. Okay. So this is, I explained about the pole strength. It is a scalar quantity, right? It depends on nature of the material, cross section and state of magnetization. It is measured in the units ampere meter, right? After that, magnetic induction. Magnetic induction is nothing but what? When a magnetic material is brought near to the magnet, then the magnetism induces in that material so that that can be attracted by the magnet. That property is called magnetic induction. After that, we cover different properties. Magnetic length is always less than the geometrical length. It is 5 by 6 of geometrical length, right? Repulsion is the shoe test for polarity. And when the when magnetic material is placed in the external magnetic field, generally what happens, magnetic lines of force will pass through the material. But whereas the superconductors are placed in the external magnetic field, the lines of force can be expelled. So that means that behaves like a diamagnetic substance. It is also important property of the superconductors regarding the magnetism. When a magnetic material is magnetized due to the alignment of atomic magnets or molecular magnets parallel to the field direction, its length slightly increases. That phenomena is called as magnetostriction. Okay. So after that, we classified the magnets. There are two types: permanent magnets, temporary magnets. Example for permanent magnets are steel, alnico, alcomax. Temporary magnets are made up of material like soft iron, new metals, right? And also, a magnet can loses its magnetism. That property is called demagnetization. Demagnetization methods are by heating, by hammering, by sending AC current through a wire wound over the material or magnet, and by dropping the magnet from some height, a magnet can lose its magnetism. Okay. After that, we define the magnetic movement and its applications, different applications we covered. Types of magnetic fields are two types: uniform, non-uniform magnetic field. The lines of force you can observe in the figure. In the uniform, the magnetic lines of force are parallel and equidistant. In non-uniform, they will be straight lines or the curved lines, right? So here, these are the magnetic lines of force due to the bar magnet and horseshoe magnet. In the bar magnet, the lines of force are curved lines. Here it is a non-uniform magnetic field. And also in the U-shape or horseshoe magnet, the lines of force, you can observe the curved lines. Therefore, the magnetic field strength is changing point to point because the tangent drawn at any point indicates the magnetic field strength direction. Since these are the curved lines, the field strength is changing point to point. Therefore, these two indicates the non-uniform magnetic field. Thank you.